Hi, everybody. It's Erin, the owner of Gentle Giraffes Newborn Care and Family Services. Today, we're here with Joyce, a realtor with Jack Conway. Hi, Allie. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
So I'm so excited to have you here. I've seen you grow and everything that you're doing online and stuff too with these phenomenal houses. Tell me a little bit about what has been going on with the market since COVID. I'm sure for some areas it's booming and some maybe not. I don't know.
Well, it's so interesting. The market, it's kind of like a tale of two markets, you could say. The suburbs, it's booming. We were down in terms of inventory 40%. So that means there's 40% less homes on the market, and the prices have gone up 60%.
Wow.
Those figures are basically inverted in Boston. The inventory has increased in Boston about 50%. Now, prices haven't dropped, but they've remained stagnant, and we're not seeing these intense bidding wars that we once did. Another statistic we use in real estate is absorption rate. And what that means is the rate at how many months it would take to buy up all the inventory in one given moment of time. And in the suburbs, it's decreased to about 1.5 months, which basically means that is gone the second it's on the market. And it usually was around there for the suburb, right? For the city. And now we're at actually about 3 to 4 months in terms of the absorption rate. Now, nationally, that's still considered a seller's market, but it's a different environment than we're used to. So people are transitioning out of the city and into the suburbs. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that people aren't commute driven anymore because they're working virtually, and because they're looking for more space or more outdoor space that they can't afford in the city.
Mm. Well, that probably makes a lot of sense too, especially if the outdoorsy, part that they
yes,
the more space, maybe the little bit more land, that kind of stuff, especially with what's going on with COVID. I know my husband and I have looked at sporadically just some places on the Cape, but talk to some realtors and they're literally if they're on the market, they're already got under contract. If you see them online or something, I was oh, I'm shocked. How did people, because of the same thing that you were saying, that people are kind of moving out of the city because they're not commute driven and they want a little bit more space. So it's kind of really great. So you've got more the younger crowd that probably could do the city, again, back when I was a child, compared to some of the more mature age, like myself, who want a little bit more. Tell me a little bit how that is helping with you and some of your clients that might have newborns or are thinking about growing their families.
So I would say what typically happens with my clients is that we helped them buy, as first-time home buyers, their condo in the city. Mm-hmm. They have baby number 1. And then when they're pregnant with baby number 2, they start transitioning to the suburbs and looking for more space and maybe looking for something where based on their public schools or their schooling. So, and then of course there's the case where you have your newborn and you are ready, you need more space now. And I will say newborns are 100% welcome on showings, and they do come. We sometimes take nursing breaks if we have to. We just make sure we have a little bit more time between showings. And honestly, I've never had a problem. I will hold babies during showings and inspections usually, because during the showing sometimes they'll be in and out, but inspections is when I get to hang with the baby. So, people get worried and they really want to find something before they give birth, because they're really worried that's going to be really hard. And you know what? Humans adapt and everyone adapts, and we find ways to work through it. I would say that if you are ready for transitioning to a larger home, don't hesitate to just find the information, and the timing is going to work itself out. Another thing that I encourage people, if they are overwhelmed with a newborn, is try to expand your existing space. You might not want to take on a huge construction project, but you can get creative with furniture placement and closet organization to make it feel like you have more room. Now I feel like you can buy furniture that has secret storage everywhere.
Yeah.
So if someone is feeling super overwhelmed and isn't ready to start the process yet, that's one way where I encourage them to, to make use of where they live currently. And then we'll get started when they have a routine. Because Erin's there.
I had a client actually that they have a phenomenal 2-bedroom apartment in Cambridge.
Oh, nice.
Which is, yes, it's beautiful. And I was there with their first, and then when they were having their second, it's still a 2-bedroom, but they're like, what are we going to do? So they chose to take the second bathroom and turn that into the toddler's bedroom. While I was there until we can get the baby, the newborn on and sleeping and, all that kind of stuff. Cause the older one was already phenomenal. You just put him to bed and he sleeps and,
wow.
There you go. So I thought it was so interesting and so creative, like what they did, because they are taking their time to find the house that they want to, have, and they just adapted with the situation that they have at this point. So
exactly
goes to what you're saying, be creative with the closets, what have you. You don't have to undergo a big construction project. But what are some of the things when people come to you and say they are looking to, to grow their family? What are things that you recommend to them to look for in a home, or you show them and say, look, this is great for X, Y, and Z or whatever?
So a couple of different things. It's interesting. When you're buying your second home, you have a totally different perspective and you're a little bit less forgiving. And naturally so, because you've been in your home and you love it, and it needs to be that much better for you to move. I know I was the same way. So the first thing that we do is if they own their first home is we want to make sure that we take a day and make sure the home is, in its prime condition, all neat and tidy. We get pictures and marketing materials done. Because how most people handle it is they look for this new place and then they sell their existing place. Mm. So we want to make sure when we find the home that we can get on the market as soon as possible. So I'm divulging from your question, but what we look for, I would say a lot of people, it has to do with space, square footage, parking is a big one, mm-hmm. Or if they're used to a certain lifestyle, yep. And they have this open concept kitchen and they're used to being able to yelling down, the living room and people can see them and hear them, or they're cooking dinner and they can see, the toddler in the living room playing, they can keep them with Ina. So making sure that either we can create that or that we can, or that exists in the new place. The other thing that can kind of be fun with the second home is that if you've built up enough equity that you're going to gain out of the existing home, you might be able to put that towards a renovation. Mm. And I personally am fans of buying homes that need to get fixed up because you're reducing, one, I think it's fun, but I'm in the industry, but two is you're reducing your cost of living and getting more home, or maybe not reducing, but you're lowering your cost of living. Instead of buying that home for $800,000, that's all done up. Why don't you buy it for $650,000, put $100,000 into it, and you have a much lower mortgage payment? So that's something that we look into.
I was going to say, because at least I know for myself, and I'm sure there's a lot more out there, that yes, I would love to be able to get a home that's turnkey ready and it's perfect. But regardless of that, I'm going to want to still come in and make it my own. I may not like the countertops that are on. I may want to change the color on the wall or, whatever it could possibly be. So even if you are buying at the top of your budget, you're going to want to change it and make it your own. So why not buy on the lower end? And then you have that extra, whatever, 100,000, 50,000, whatever it is, to be able to put the finishing touches to make it your own. At least that's like what I do. I mean, my husband and I thought about moving too, but he's like, you're still going to want to like redo stuff. And I'm like, you're right.
Right. You're like, true. You know me. Yes, no, I'm the same way. And I always say like, it's like a shame when the kitchen was newly modeled, even, and then you're like, well, it's not to my taste, so I'm going to rip out this like new kitchen. The other thing too is in this market with this low inventory, and we've had low inventory for a long time, but the properties that are, you know, that bright white kitchen, shiny new, those are the ones that get bid up. So if you're looking for an edge against the competition, look at the properties where you need to use your imagination.
Yes.
You know, because that's where you're not going to get beat up as much by the seller because maybe they didn't sell right away.
Yep.
So it's a good economic decision as well. And usually for the second time homeowner, they're more ready to take on a renovation because they're like, all right, I think I can handle this, you know.
You have a great, what I've just seen though, but you have a great app or a great program that helps. I mean, not everybody's very creative. I know at least every time I go into somebody's house, even if it's a client of mine, I'm always just thinking of what I can do to the home or something.
Yes.
I was kind of brought up that way. My mother would always go to like open houses and I'm like, what are we doing? We're not moving. She's like, no, but I'm going to get ideas of what I can do to our house or, you know, this, whatever. So I'm always like that. So I know you must have obviously clients like me, but clients who don't have that creative side or really think about it. So for those type of clients, when they go in and look at homes that might need a little bit of work, how do you help them? Like, what are the things that you suggest to them to look at, like the bones of the house, or do you have them look at like where the placement of the bathroom is? What do you do? And then what do you do to make it look like something that they can make their own?
That's such a good point. And it's true, you know, and it's hard. You have to be raised that way. I was raised like that too. My mom taking me, except I would be like, let's go into the open house. They'd be like, you're 8. So, yes, like if you don't think like that, it's really hard to visualize. So there's a couple of things that we do. The first is that we have to be realistic about everything that needs to be done, because sometimes people don't realize, like, okay, this is aluminum siding on the exterior. I see mold on certain spots. You're going to want to get rid of this. Put this into your budget, or, you know, plan on it for the future.
Yep.
We also want to look at, particularly, you know, in Boston and in New England in general, because we have old homes. So we want to look at the sloping of the floors. If there is sloping, that's not necessarily it depends on the degree of the sloping and whether that's going to mentally bother someone. But if it's not that bad, we look at the basement, we look at the main beams. We want to see, is that beam twisted? And is it properly supported? Is more support needed? That's when we kind of get into this unknown territory of how much your renovation cost is going to be. And that's usually when I recommend actually that it might not be the best property. But assuming that all looks good, then we want to focus on the flow of the house. Right. Can you live with the house in its existing floor plan? Because when you start knocking down walls, that's when things get a lot more expensive. And that's where we also have big question marks, you know, can we even do this? Or are you going, because people, you know, think you can get rid of every single wall, but you either need to add support underneath, or you have the big beams, or you have like big openings and people are disappointed. Yeah. So we have to kind of look at, you know, one great thing is you look at, okay, what direction are the floors going? Yeah. And the walls that are perpendicular are typically the supporting walls. Yep. And the other walls are, you know, more easily opened up. Yep. And then in the kitchen, especially, you know, kitchens can be $20,000, they can be $100,000, you know, however much you want to spend. And we want to look at where are the utilities located. Yep. Is it in a way that makes sense with cooking? Because especially in the old homes, they weren't built to have fridges. So you have like a fridge, like random, like floating in the room. And that's my big thing. I hate a floating fridge. I hate a floating stove. I like them to be, you know, have cabinetry around them. Yeah. And that can be just really increase your budget. If you need to start moving around your appliances, because you might need to do a new gas line, you might need to move the water.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that the person isn't buying over, something that's over their head. And ideally you work with the existing layout. And I always think about think about entertaining.
Yeah.
How do you entertain? Where do you want to be? Are people following you in the kitchen? Okay, then we need a really big kitchen. Or are you doing stuff in the kitchen and you're okay with having an open dining and living room area? So again, long answer, but flow is important and analyzing the structure.
Absolutely. And I know that just from my own renovations, for what I'm doing right now too, because we did knock down a wall that is the
load bearing.
Yes, it's a low bearing
Yes.
wall.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had to have, obviously when they were knocking it down and before they could put the beam up, they had to have an engineer come in and just look at it really quickly. They had to make sure that they were supporting that wall, all that stuff so that they could take it down and then put the beam up and then take all the other information down too. So it's not just, and I know this because I've grown up in construction too, different stuff. I mean, my mother lifted a house, all sorts of different
things. That's so cool.
Yeah. So she's done all sorts of things. I mean, literally we've renovated a home to the point that they said you needed to keep one wall up, but then we had a hurricane and that knocked the wall down.
Oh my God.
We literally have redone an entire house and then she lifted another one and then we've had an addition.
Did she move it someplace?
She didn't move it. She had to fix the septic system.
Okay.
And because of the zoning and all different things, she had to lift it like 6 or 7 inches and build another foundation underneath it to, so I mean, I've seen it kind of all. I mean, of somebody who knows what they're doing.
Totally.
I definitely know, when they were coming in to check and saying, and I was like, I'd like to knock this wall down and what have you. And they were like, we've got to check and make sure it's, what wall is it, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I totally understand. So I knew, and that could be expensive. That can get really,
yes, it can.
Even if you're just doing 4 or 5 feet, it can still be a lot of money, a lot more than probably most people realize because of the amount of work it goes into to make sure the house doesn't fall.
Yes, right, exactly. And I always say with construction, if you don't have someone that's recommended to you that you trust already, get 3 quotes.
Yes.
And don't go, I usually always end up middle of the road because the person who's giving you this awesome deal with construction, you get what you pay for. So, and I've had bad experiences.
Or it's going to be all of a sudden, it's going to grow and grow and grow because I didn't realize this and I didn't realize this and la, la, la. But then the expensive one too, you always have to add on the fact that there's going to be 10 to 15% increase anyway when you do a construction always.
Mm-hmm. So true.
Is the top of the one going to be your at the top of your budget in general?
Right.
You want some wiggle room. I know, at least for me, yes, this is what I want, but I know once I get in there, I'm going to be like, ooh, can we twist this? Can we move this? Can we do that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Same. And another good thing too is, ask if you can buy your own materials.
Yes.
Because at least mentally you're controlling that budget. And if you decide to go over, well, then that's on you, that's one thing I've always done.
You want to make sure that you, at least in my experience, and you tell me that, get a detailed outline of what everything costs. If you're going to tile your floor, what is the contractor giving you for budget for tile? And then if you choose to still buy your own, okay, great. I'm just going to take that off of the price, whatever it could possibly be, that kind of thing. Because they do, they typically give you builder's grade, pricing, which is decent.
Right.
It's not bad. And I'm not one for really I'm the type of person that I go and buy what I like. I'm not into whether it is high end or low end. If it's what I like, it's what I like. So I could have literally a high end countertop and a really, really crappy cabinet. Well, that's actually not the right word. A low
right. No, I mean,
because I like the design or I like whatever it came with or something, and I'm willing to, go with that.
Yes, no, it's so true. You just go with what you like. Or I'm always like, okay, like, is it like somewhere? I'm always end up somewhere in the middle. I'm like, is it gonna last me a while? And it's like not break the bank too crazy. Although there are things that, you splurge with because you can't help it.
Yes, exactly. So we were actually looking for appliances, and I brought my husband into a whole new different world when he married me, and we did some construction and different
Oh
things.
my God. So
Also
funny.
a couple of other things too, that I've always been like, there's certain things that you buy quality because it's going to last.
Yes. Yeah, true.
And like, anyway, we were looking for appliances, and he ended up seeing this faucet, and he really liked it. It's a beautiful faucet, don't get me wrong. And it ends
You have like totally made your impression on him if he's liking faucets. I haven't done that to David yet. Like he can't like get into
for 18 years. So there's some time. You guys got some time. But
God.
he picks out, and it's a beautiful faucet, and I love it. It's great. But it ended up being like really high-end quality. And that's what we get, because we both justify the fact that you use a faucet like 30, 40 times a day.
Yeah.
It's not something that you should skimp on. Like, I don't need $150 faucet that's going to only last me maybe 6 months. Because by the time like 5 years rolls around, I'm going to end up have spent the same amount of money.
It's so true, because you have to keep buying it. Yes,
because like sometimes
I agree.
The hot water's too hot for the lines that come through, so they get blown out, and all sorts of different stuff that can happen. But it's so funny that it was he who's the one that picked it out,
that found it. I'm impressed. Right. So
I am too.
All right. So I need you to train my future babies and my husband.
You train your husband by showing them quality, and it lasts for years. I have a sofa that I've had for 15 years, and I spent, it's a high-end quality sofa. It will last like another 15 years.
Yes.
So in that 30-year period, or even in the 15 years that I've had it, even a little bit longer, most people bought maybe 2 or 3 sets of living room furniture or sofas. I've spent 1.
Yeah.
And in 30 years,
I'm the exact same.
Yeah. So I'd rather do that. Same thing with cars. Like, I have my cars until they don't run anymore. So I'll buy something a little bit more, high, not higher end in the quality, but like maybe newer or something, and have it until it literally doesn't run anymore.
Right. Exactly.
So tell me a little bit. We got off on a little tangent there, but
sorry.
Tell me some, like when you have clients that come in, you do show them apps though of how they can change things too, to make it look a little bit, or give them options or something. And
yeah, totally. So I will have we can usually, because the market is so fast, so if I'm selling a property and I'm on the selling side, I will create rendering so they can see it. But when I'm on the buy side, sometimes we have to act so fast that there's not time for that. But I can always show them examples. Because a lot of the homes, if they were built, for example, in the neighborhood I live in, they're all 1920 four square 2 families. And if one looks like this, they all look like this. So I can easily be like, okay, you're interested in this. This is what it looks like renovated, and that can help someone visualize. But the big thing about buying is, if you can't get there mentally, don't force it.
Yeah,
it's a little bit like dating. Sometimes there's no reason why you don't get the feels for a certain house, but you will on the others, and so you kind of have to trust that. So and some people, like my cousin, I wanted her to do a renovation project, but she was like, absolutely not. So I'm like, okay, fine. You know what? You know yourself. I do rip my hair out at the end of my renovation projects, but it's like giving birth. I guess I forget because I keep doing it.
Yes, exactly. You keep doing it again. That's me. I might want to tell me to stop.
Right. Exactly.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit, give me 3 tips that you would give a family that either has a newborn or they're looking to grow their family in a home that when they come to you as a realtor. What are 3 things you would give to them?
Okay, so the first thing I would say is start with the end in mind. Picture where you want to be, how long you want to be there. Usually once you are starting to look for more space, you're kind of thinking more about a forever home. So think about, what is the forever home? Is it this next step, or is there a step in between? And then the second one is, you definitely want to talk to someone, a lender I use, about your budget. Because sometimes that can be different. There are a lot of nuances to financing that people don't realize. And so they think they can afford, $600,000, but they really can afford $500,000 because they weren't considering this one factor or something like that.
Yep.
So start with the end in mind. Think about how long you're going to be at the house, and also talk to a loan officer, and then have a conversation. Make sure you have a buyer's agent. Well, I'd love it to be me, all you people out there, but it doesn't have to be. Make sure you have someone who's advocating for you throughout the process, because real estate agents have a fiduciary responsibility to their clients, which a lot of people don't realize that. So they have to do everything in your best interest, similar to what, your attorney or your financial advisor does. So make sure that you have that benefit.
Awesome. So tell us where we can find you, because I know, you're phenomenal. I see you all everywhere. You're always getting all these new homes. You've got pictures of sold properties, which is great. So you're doing phenomenal. So,
thank you.
So tell people how they can get a hold of you.
So the best way to get a hold of me, honestly, is my cell phone. Call me 339-237-0783. Shoot me a text. That's the easiest way to get a hold of me, because I'm constantly, real estate never sleeps. So I'm constantly on my phone doing deals. So if something pops up, I'll get it immediately. And and I always say it's never too soon to start. If you're even thinking about it and you're a year or so out, have the conversation, get prepared, empower yourself with knowledge.
Awesome. And what are your social media handles? Because you're definitely showing some great videos and things of like that on there too for people to.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so Allie Joyce 1 is my Instagram, ALIJOYCE 1, and then you can also find me on Facebook at I have a page, Allie Joyce Realtor, and then on Twitter I'm Allie the Agent.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Allie, for joining us today. It was great talking to you, and I'm sure there's tons of people that will be watching that will be calling you soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure.
Awesome. Have a great day.